人文科学部実践英語学科タウンゼンです。Today, the world is becoming more globalized, and countries are becoming more interconnected through trade, tourism, and it's very important for people to be able to communicate and to understand and develop empathy for other cultures and people. Through this way, Japan can better participate actively and more successfully in the globalized economy. And now we're going to begin our lesson. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Today, we're going to talk about the country where I'm from, Canada. First, we're going to talk a little bit about some basic information, and then we are going to be more specific, looking at multiculturalism. All right, let's begin. As you probably know, Canada is a very big country. It is so big, in fact, it is more than 5,500 kilometers wide. Also, it touches 3 different oceans. There's the Arctic Ocean in the north, there's the Pacific Ocean to the west, and the Atlantic Ocean on the east. Now, we're going to look at country rankings by size, and this is square kilometers. First, we'll look at the largest country in the world by surface area, Russia. Russia's over 17 million square kilometers. Next is Canada. Canada is the second largest country in the world at almost 10 million square kilometers, followed by China and the United States. Japan is the 61st largest country in the world by surface area. Now, if you can imagine, this is Canada and this is Japan. If you put Japan into Canada, it can be done 24 times. Once again, pretty large country. Next, we're going to look at population. How many people are there in the country? Now, China, of course, is the largest country in the world. There are almost 1.5 billion people. This is followed by India, by the United States. How about Japan and Canada? What is their ranking population? Japan has approximately 130 million people. Canada, on the other hand, is a very small country population-wise. It has approximately 37 million people. Once again, surface area, it's very large, but it's a very small country with population. Another interesting point about Canada, it's so large, but the vast majority of the population, approximately 70%, live within 200 kilometers of the American border. Another interesting point is Canada is a very young country. Now, Confederation, this was when Canada became a country, was in 1867. That's only 153 years ago. Now, before colonization, before Europeans came to Canada to colonize, Canada was already a very multicultural society, a multicultural area. There are an estimate 56 Aboriginal groups living in the area that is today Canada, and they spoke more than 30 different languages. Once again, Canada was already a very multicultural place. Now, the first Europeans started to come to Canada, the area that's now Canada, in the 1600s. And this was predominantly the British and the French. Now, the British and the French had many wars. They had a lot of fighting, and also with the Aboriginals in Canada. And this was a very important point, which I will touch on later. Now, at the time Canada became a country, once again, 150 years ago, the population of the British and the French was 60% to 40% respectively. Now, that has steadily been decreasing. In 1980, the population of the British was down to 40%, and the population of the French was to 27%. That further declined in 2003. The British fell to 21% and the French to 10%. But immigration from other parts of the world was increasing, while the French and British went down. Now, as you can see on this map, the majority of the French colonized what is now Quebec, New Brunswick, and parts of Nova Scotia. On the other hand, the British colonized what is now Ontario and the East Coast and the West Coast. Now, at the top of this graph, you can see the population, foreign-born population in Canada. This is the British and Europeans and the United States. And this is time. As you can see, once again, the British and the French was reduced. And other parts of the country, other cultures came and increased dramatically. Most Asian. The Asian population has been increasing much more and more. And here is a graph of the proportion of foreign-born population in Canada. And this red line indicates today. This is what we have seen before, and this is what will probably happen in the future. Now, once again, today, Canada is a very multicultural country. In 2016, there were over 250 ethnic origins or ancestries reported in Canada. Also, the languages spoken at home. English was spoken by approximately 58% of Canadians in their home with their families. On the other hand, French is spoken by 21.5%. And finally, other languages was spoken by 20.5%. This means 1 in 5 Canadians speaks a language other than French or English in their home. Finally, I'm going to talk about another country, America, and compare it with Canada. America and Canada are both very multicultural countries. They are made up from people from many different cultures and countries. However, there are two theories that are a little bit different when we are talking about multiculturalism in the United States and Canada. First, we're going to look at the United States. If you have a bunch of different cultures coming to the United States, they blend together and assimilate. this is called the melting pot theory. Now, I will explain and compare it with the Canadian idea. It's not a perfect, but it is a general idea. And the melting pot believes that a country becomes stronger when different cultures and people, immigrants, they fully assimilate and they share a common culture and a common language, and it makes them stronger. Canada, on the other hand, has a different theory for multiculturalism. In this theory, we are referred to as a cultural mosaic. And this theory feels that a country will become stronger if the people that come retain their culture, their language, and their identity. And we can use this, once again, to the benefit of our country. Now, of course, immigrants that come to Canada do assimilate, they integrate, but once again, there are many ways that the Canadian government tries to help them maintain their languages, maintain their distinct cultures, and their distinct ideas. Now, once again, this was shaped from Canada's history. Britain and France, when they were colonizing Canada, had many wars. Also, with the Aboriginal people living in Canada before the British and French. And because of this, it was decided that the best way to make a strong, prosperous country was to help these people maintain their identities, religions, and cultures. As a result, Canada now has 2 official languages, French and English. And once again, there are many things in place to help to maintain this. Thank you very much.